Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. Today on this cold, rainy, nasty day, I want to share with you all 5 reasons why you should never, ever, ever waste any of your pork fat from a processed pig. So come along. All right, so we all know, most of us know, that a good pasture-raised pig produces incredibly high-quality pork fat. And we could obviously spend an entire video episode just talking about that, the difference between the nutrition of a pasture-raised pig and a confinement pig. But we're not. We're going to get into talking about fat. And I have a big chunk of pork fat from some of our commercial processing that we've done. You know, we obviously raise hogs here. We sell them to our customers, and we have to have those processed commercially. Dog's drinking. So I always ask for the extra fat during processing to be packaged for later use in our own processes here. So whether you butcher your own hog on site or you send it away to have it processed, make sure you keep the fat, all the fat. Now obviously we know we're going to use some fat to go directly into our grind to give it that nice consistency, to give our sausage the flavor and texture we want it to. So some of that fat's going to go in with the trimmings to make our grind, but especially with a good heritage breed pig like we raise, then there's obviously extra fat. There's a lot of back fat left over. And when you go to a commercial processor, if you don't ask for that, normally that just ends up getting chucked away with some of the other wastes. So what I want to do today is I want to explain 5 reasons why you should keep all this extra fat and how to utilize that. But instead of just being a video where I'm yammering all 5 points, I'm actually going to take you all along as we process some of this so you can kind of see hands-on what we do as I discuss the value of it. All right, before we dive into this, probably should address terminology to make sure we're all on the same page. But when I'm talking about pig fat, I'm talking about the actual fat that's been cut off a pig. When we use the term lard, we're actually referring to a rendered product from the pig fat. So lard is technically after you've done some processing to it. Pig fat, of course, is just pig fat. There's 2 main categories of pig fat as well. One is leaf. You hear leaf lard a lot, but there's the leaf fat. And the leaf fat is located along the organs, kind of the back part around the kidneys in that area. And when we butchered our boar this last winter, we saved the leaf for other process. That's not what I'm using here today. And of course, the other fat is basically back fat or just rest of the body fat. Normally, it's along the back there is where you find your best fat. That's what these big chunks laying here are sections of back fat. All right, so my number 1 reason why you should never waste any of your extra pig fat isn't necessarily at the top of the list. It's as far as highest priority, but it's kind of top of the list as far as processing goes. And that is, you can take your pig fat and you can include it in with other meats. So right now it's deer season where we are here in West Virginia. So a lot of guys are out in the woods hunting deer. And if you've ever processed your own deer, you know that's a very, very lean animal. So the amount of fat, body fat on a deer is very, very lean compared to obviously any domesticated farm animal. So what we like to do when we get venison, I like to have some ground up pig fat to be able to marry in with that. So when we go to grind the venison, then we throw that pig fat in and grind it as well. And that just gives you better texture, better consistency, gives you tenderness in your deer sausage, and of course gives you greater flavor. So as those 2 kind of marry, it really makes that nice. And that can be done with anything. We'll sometimes mix that in with beef if we have a very lean beef. So I'm going to grind today, but I'm not grinding necessarily to mix it with venison. I'm going to grind right now just because it makes it so much easier to render. So by grinding them into smaller chunks, obviously it just renders faster. And today I'm using our massive LEM Big Bite. This is the number 12. We did our entire boar with this last year and this thing didn't even slow down. It was awesome how well it did. And I'm just going to use a really coarse plate. I believe this one is this is a number 10. And that should give us a grind about that size. And not pass it through a 4mm or anything smaller, because that'll suffice to get it in the pot to grind it down. All right, so that went pretty quickly. In fact, I think it took, for every 10 minutes of cutting up, I think it took maybe 30 seconds of grinding. This grinder, man, it just blasts through all that. So I got my lug here full of ground up pig fat, and you'll notice this trimmings. The trimmings I left, I make sure to cut off as much meat as possible. If there's any meat left on that fat, then cut that away, because as you go to render, it's going to, some of that meat can affect the flavor. If you want like a really pure lard where it has no pig flavor to it, then you get that meat out of there. So just cut that off and we'll toss that away. Or the dog's eyeballing me right now. Maybe the dog will get something. But so next, the long part, and this is why I like doing it on a winter day where it's cold, and today's a work from home day, so I've got my computer over here so I can do tons of office work and put this stuff on the pot and render it down. So this step leads me to my second reason why you should never ever throw out your extra pig fat, and that of course is rendering this down to lard, and then all the different uses for lard. So second point is taking this lard and using it for baking or cooking. So if we had the leaf fat that we rendered to leaf lard, then that's where you'd want to use that in your pastries. So your pie crusts and your biscuits, that's where it's the best, because that's the purest lard. And all this other lard that we render from back fat and other carcass fat, we use it all the time for like if we're going to deep fry stuff. So instead of using vegetable oil, we use lard. So just imagine anywhere you would use vegetable oil, substitute it with this. I love frying potatoes on a Saturday morning breakfast on the stove here, and use lard as that grease to get it going, versus putting vegetable oil or Crisco or even butter at that point, because it's got a high smoke point there, so it can handle that. So the first thing I'm going to do with my big stock pot is I'm going to put some water in the bottom of it. Of course, as we bring it up to temperature, we don't want the fat scorching on the bottom of the pot. We want to bring that up slow and then get that rendering process going. So that water will all evaporate, and then we'll end up with liquid lard at that point. Try to keep from dragging it all over the place too, or hitting the floor with it. That good. Kelly's not home, so she won't see that. All right, so I'm literally going to just let this melt. Super low heat, and as it heats up, of course, it's just going to melt down, and then we'll get a boil going, and the water will evaporate. But we don't want this big rolling boil or tons and tons of heat on it, like I said, to keep from scorching it. Okay, so we're about an hour in, and already we've got a nice melted soup, if you will. A lot of the fat bits have really melted down, and it's releasing all of that lardy goodness. So it's moving pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do is get ready. I'm going to get my jars, because we're going to put this in jars, and I'm going to get those ready in the dishwasher, get them sterilized, super clean. Make sure we've got everything we need there. But that leads me to my third point of why you should never waste any of your fat from your pigs. And that is, once you get down to the lard state, the lard's not just for cooking. You can use lard for seasoning all of your cast iron. So whether it's your cast iron pots, or you can even season some of the older cast iron wood stoves. I had one of you guys actually recommend for a stove that I'm trying to refurbish to season it like you would cast iron. So this lard can be a great tool and oil to use in seasoning. All right, so a little over 3 hours now, and we've got a really good render. Just little bits. There's still some more that can be rendered, but I'm going to go ahead and start canning this, getting it into jars. So while I get ready to strain that leads me to my fourth reason why you should never throw out your leftover pig fat. You can take this lard and you can use it to make either soap or candles. We could go old school here, take this lard and some lye and any other ingredients you prefer, and put it together and make soap. We've done that here before and love it. With a small batch of of lard like this, well, goodness, you know, you can make tons of soap with this size batch, but just a small quart jar, you can make a decent amount of soap to last you for months. So that's an option. Candles, I've never made candles out of lard, so I don't know how those work out. I don't know if it smells like bacon every time you light a candle. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? But that is an option as well. I'll take my strainer and a tea towel. I'm hoping this is the right tea towel. Kelly's not home. So we will find out. It's got a stain on it, so I think I'm okay to use it. Yeah, that's one. Hot. We'll go ahead and put these back in while or get them in the oven so they can get heated up and be ready for their final seal. While I get more jars filled. All right, so I've wrapped up. Let's see, here goes without dropping it. And here's what I ended up with. So if I do my math right, 3 quarts and 6 pints. I think that's 1.5 gallons. 1, 2, yeah. So about 1.5 gallons of lard. You can see it's still liquidy right now, but as it cools down, it'll solidify, and hopefully it'll become that really white lard. That just means it's cleaner. Here's the leftovers. So here's the bits that didn't render down. There's still actually a little bit in there, but I was honestly I'm eating tonight at church, so I needed to wrap this up, and turning up the heat could get the rest of that out, but then you start to scorch it, and you know how that goes. So not bad production for what we had there. So this leads me to my 5th point, and cleaning up has kind of proven this. I've never done it, but it's proven it. The 5th reason why you don't want to throw out any extra pork fat is because you can use this lard as skincare products. If you just Google lard skincare, you'll see tons and tons of options where people are selling lotions and lip balms and all kinds of stuff. And I gotta say, just after today working with all this, my hands are very supple. I got sticky fingerprints all over everything, but I can see where that would be a quality skincare product. I've never used it. Kelly's never used any of it, I don't think, but that is an option. Now there's actually a 6th point that I would say is a bonus, and I don't know about this. I was reading on it. I've never done it. I was reading on it. I thought it was hilarious, but people said take lard, mix it with beeswax, and you can have really good wood polish, or furniture polish for leather and wood furniture. And I can see where that would get it super shiny. I don't know, something about that I just see me or the dog kind of gnawing on the edge of the end table. I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure that's the direction we'd want to go. But that's a tip there for you. Now, since these are canned and the lids are sealed, that one just popped. These are the 2 that just came out. Then these will be shelf stable for quite a while. And I can put these, I'll put these in the back of our pantry in a dark, cool place. Obviously, we'll write the dates on them. And they will keep for a very long time without having to be refrigerated or put in the freezer. So that's the beauty of lard as well. It becomes shelf stable just like a vegetable oil or something like that. Now you may be asking, Troy, what are you going to do with all these cans of luscious lard? Well, we're just going to store them and use them as we need them for whatever product or whatever. We're just going to store them and use them for whatever needs we may have. And it's interesting with some of the regulation we have out there. I can't sell any of this lard for human consumption. Now I can sell it to you for anything else, for skincare products, for if you want to feed it to your dog, or you want to season your cast iron pan. I could sell that all day long. But if you're going to use it for human consumption, I can't sell it to you. It's illegal. Now, I could give you a jar and watch you eat it with a spoon, and it would not be illegal. It's only when money changes hands does this become dangerous. So go figure. But comment below if you think there's any value in non-food lard being sold through Red Tool House. We're looking at putting together a product website together where we'll be offering a lot of different things. And Kelly and I have been debating whether or not to offer something like this, that we'll clearly mark on it that this is not for human consumption. So as you buy it, then you know that's the process going forward. But comment below, let me know what you think. Appreciate everybody watching. And again, if you've got pigs clearing land for you, or you got pigs as part of your homestead, make sure you're using every bit of it. All right, take care, everybody.